My name is Mike Farrington. Welcome to my wood shop, aka the boardroom. So I wanted to build a Moxon Vise because I have a couple of projects coming up that require quite a few dovetails. So I'd recently completed a paint grade millwork project and had quite a bit of poplar left over. So I started by laminating 3 pieces of full quarter poplar together, approximately 6 inches wide, maybe something like 35 inches long. I glued up 2 of those and then took them over to the joiner, flattened one face, squared up an edge, and a quick pass through the planer. So I'm a big fan of using a rip blade when I'm ripping and a cross-cut blade when I'm cross-cutting. So here I'm switching over to one of my favorite rip blades, full kerf, 24 tooth. I think it's made by FS Tool. Great blade. So next I'm going to rip the vise jaws to width. One will be ripped to 6 1/4, one will be ripped to 6 inches. And that difference in jaw height will be helpful in aligning the vise to the front of whatever bench it's going to be clamped to. Next I'll cut the vise jaws to length. The length's not really super critical, just as long as they're long enough. I need 2 more pieces of wood, one to make the foot, which will be what I'll actually use to clamp the vise down to a bench. And the second piece would be for a little shelf that's going to hang off the back of the rear vise jaw. I like to use biscuits anytime I need to precisely align 2 work pieces. And the key to getting good results with biscuits is both a high quality biscuit joiner and to use good quality biscuits, as well as not too much glue. So I try and use the biscuit joiner in a horizontal orientation as much as possible, and I'm just kind of clamping up a sort of a stop block here. I find that when I use a biscuit joiner in a vertical orientation, it shoots the chips and dust and everything up in the air, and that it tends to land in my beautiful flowing locks of hair. So this step is really the key to the whole project here, and that's to drill the holes in perfect alignment. And how I decided to do that was just to tape the 2 pieces together with double-sided tape. I believe it's called carpet tape. Quick layout where the 2 holes need to be drilled. So I'm using some steel bushings to help the outer jaw slide a little bit better on the threaded rod that I'm using, and all of this will make a little bit more sense in the next few minutes. But I need 2 perfectly concentric holes, one that's 3/4 inches in diameter and one that's 1 inch in diameter. So I clamp the workpiece to the drill press table, drill 3/4 inch diameter hole, then switch out to 1 inch diameter bit, and then drill to a depth of 2 inches, which is the length of the bushing I'm using. And here I'm using the actual steel bushing itself to set the depth. I just plunge the drill bit down to the work surface and then hold the bushing up to the depth stop and Here I'm gluing and clamping the foot of the vise. I think it's important to add glue to both sides of the biscuit slot. I think it gives a much better connection. So you can see the two metal sleeves that I'm going to use, and I'm just mixing up some 5-minute epoxy to hold them in place. Cutting down some 3/4 inch all thread to 8-inch lengths. So it would have been way easier to just use 3/4 inch diameter bolts, but the big box store near my house didn't have any, so this was my solution, was to buy a piece of 3/4 inch all thread and 2 3/4 inch nuts and epoxy them together. Tiny bit of cleanup after gluing the foot to the rear jaw. I'm not really sure this step is necessary, but I wanted a nice clean look, so I wanted to recess the nuts in to the rear jaw. You can see on the right I already have one side done. I'm using my ultra high quality jigsaw blade that I sharpened into a marking knife. To save the edges of my nicer chisels, I have this huge mortising chisel that I don't feel too guilty just wailing away on. I don't know if you can see it in this video, but I take a little magic marker and I draw a little line as kind of a rough depth gauge. A little bit of cleanup and fine tuning. Oh snap, perfect fit. Then I'd cut a 45-degree bevel on the outside jaw just to kind of create a little clearance when sawing half-blind dovetails. So this might seem a little odd to some of you more traditional woodworkers or all hand tool woodworkers. I'm cutting a rabbet on the inside face of each of the jaws. And at the end of the video I'll show the reason why I do this. So here's the shelf on the rear jaw. It becomes very useful for clamping things and using as a reference surface. More biscuits. No dominoes were harmed in the making of this vise. So this is the second Moxon vise I've built, and the first one I did not have leather on the jaws, and I kind of consider that a mistake. So this one I went ahead and ordered some tool grade leather. I think it's maybe 8 ounce or something like that. I'm not in love with spray adhesive, but I think for this application it looks pretty good. I used spray adhesive on both the leather and the wood, and then smashed everything together with some clamps, and here I'm just trimming off a little bit of excess. Just fine-tuning this shelf a little bit, making sure that it's perfectly in plane with the top of the jaw. And I just picked up this little square made by a company called Chapel. It's pretty much awesome, maybe my favorite new tool. Just knocking down the sharp edges so it's comfortable. Just so you guys know, this video has not been sped up. This is my actual normal working speed. For some reason, I just can't leave pencil lines on a shop jig. Just using a mill file here to knock the sharp edges off of the threaded rod. It'll make it slide through those metal bushings a little easier. Put a little bit of paste wax on everything, again, just to help it slide a little bit easier. Here's the maiden voyage for this vise. Overall, I'm pretty darn happy with how it turned out. I was very happy with the way the handles spin if you just kind of give them a tap. One thing to note about the design of this vise is that you can't skew the jaws, and that's a function of using the metal bushings. And some people might not like that, but for me it's fine because I'm really going to use this thing as a one-trick pony just for cutting dovetails. And here it is, first time in actual combat. So here's the reason I cut the two rabbits out of the jaws is I like to use a router with a template bit to route down to my marked line on my pin boards. So in the thumbnail for this video, I had said that I'd spent $70 building this vise, and I think that's about right. I spent $35 on the knobs with shipping, $20 on the leather, $10 on the threaded rod, $4 on the nuts. And I'm not counting things like glue and biscuits and things like that. I'll put a link in the description below for where I picked up those knobs. They're a little challenging to find, but the rest of the stuff you should be able to find locally. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Give me a comment. I'd welcome the feedback. Thank you.